looks like the intro video isn't
in
going.
action.
Don't know why.
Rules
Anyway,
that keep things going smoothly and fairly.
yeah, welcome to Learn the Game, where we find out if you got enough for effort.
Rules that help
And
us
today
get
we're going to be
where we're
talking
going.
about the greatest
Help
centers
us
of all
work together,
time.
play together,
Before we get
and
into
live
that,
together.
Rex, how are you today, sir?
Of course, in small groups, we sometimes get along without rules.
I can't hear you.
But there aren't any loud noises, just the sounds of working. We call these work sounds. Listen.
Can you hear me now?
When many of us play together, rules make the game. Rules help us play fair with each other, so all can enjoy the game. Rules that apply equally to all. It's up to each one of us to know the rules and follow them.
Why do you suppose this room is so quiet? Perhaps we can learn from the teacher.
At New York's Madison Square Garden, a city college quintet races five fast and fancy web boots from the University of Oregon. It's the opening contest of an intersectional doubleheader, and New York draws 2 points worth of first blood.
And you know, we have found that knowing when to be quiet is a part of growing up.
16,000 fans watch the boys from the Pacific Coast as they try to stem the onslaught of City College fever. But it's all over when Silverstein shoots off the hardwood, decades the ball, and the ball game for CCNY 38-36.
Because a quiet room helps all of us learn.
How do you do it?
Well, each of us knows how to work quietly. That's very important.
But the evening sport is a long way from the locker room. In the second game, a team of Northwestern Wildcats is matched against St. John's University of Brooklyn. The lads from Illinois are off to a springboard start when Rob Coble eases the Allen into the basket to take the lead.
Do you think you could walk this quietly? Listen to this work sound.
But tribal warfare comes to the gymnasium as the St. John's Indians retaliate with 2 points. From now on, the game is touch and go, with 10 men helping to get it there. A beautiful display of teamwork, and Northwestern gets in the number column with sharp shooting Rob Coble doing the honors.
There you go. I guess that works better. Welcome to Learn the Game, where you learn if you got enough for effort. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about the greatest centers of all time. Rex, how are you today, sir?
All right. Doing okay.
Well, I know that you're a point guard, or when you played, you were a point guard, but I think that the greatest position is the center of all time. But no bias to me playing typically that position or from me. But what are or who are some greatest centers of all time and why? Who do you think is the greatest center of all time and why?
Well, it depends on how you want to look at it. You want to talk, if you want to talk about most talented, like the best ball skills, then really what you're looking at today with Jokic, he's up there. You got guys like Kareem, if you want to talk about individually dominant during their eras, then you've got Wilt, you've got Shaq, for a long stretch, Mikan. If you want to talk about most effective guys that actually impacted the game the most, as far as helping their team win, then you got Russell. Again, go back to Kareem. Wilt did a lot of different things, but never did them all at the same time. Wilt obviously always rebounded, led the league in assists, scored like mad, but he never did the scoring and the assists at the same time. So, he changed his style of play. which is practically unheard of in the history of pro sports. But overall, I always believe winning's the only thing that matters. Individual stats are useless. They're for the people that don't win. They start looking at their stats. Winner, what was it? I was told winners look at trophies, losers look at stats.
Yeah.
Is Bill Russell. He won everywhere he went as a player, every level, and was always recognized as the motor for those teams. The leader. So personally, I would say Russell. You talk about individual ball skills. Like I said, you got Joker. Trying to think. Moses Malone is up there, obviously. I think you have more guys on the second tier. Guys that are way up there, all-time greats. But because of situation or circumstance, didn't always, didn't get the full career accolades and numbers that their potential, showed. Like on the next level, you got Hakeem and Hakeem and Robinson and Ewing and Willis Reed and, guys like that. Guys that were obviously all-time greats, but you don't sit there and they're not the first name that comes to mind when you talk about the best center that has probably ever played. Their names don't come up very often. Hakeem does with some people. But it's such a varied game. There's so much to it that there's so many different styles of play. So many of them had to play under different rules, different coaches, against different competition. So, you got guys like Yao Ming that if he had been happy, or healthy, and, he probably would have had a much more dominant career. Bill Walton was called by a lot of all-time great coaches, like especially John Wooden, who also coached Kareem, said that when healthy, Bill Walton is the greatest basketball player that ever lived, that he was better than Russell when he was healthy. He was just so rarely healthy. So situation, circumstance, so much goes into it. What would Greg Oden have been? It's just so hard to tell. But personally, if you're asking me to pick out one name, I usually always go with Russell, because bottom line is he played to win, and he won always at every level.
Yeah, and I think, you bring up a great point, is that the word great can be looked at in a variety of different ways. I typically, if I'm going to make an argument for somebody, I typically talk about their ability, their quality, and then their eminence, because that comes straight out of the dictionary of what the word great means. However, a lot of people will just stick to one of those qualities or some of those qualities versus what, holistically what that word means. So, yeah, you can look at what's that?
When like the biggest knock against Russell, you always hear from fanboys that have no idea of the history. Will sit there and say, well, he had no offense.
Yeah.
He was limited. Yeah, right. Okay, so he was limited and still won 5 league MVPs and 11 championships. Being limited. That even makes him sound more great. That he was playing with half a deck and was still beating everybody at the table.
Yeah. I mean, talking about Russell, I know it's not true. You've described how it's not true because even if you're not scoring, if you are, I think he's the second highest assist average
Third,
per game, third for center.
behind Jokic and Will.
Oh yeah, and Will Chamberlain.
Russell has the highest assist average of any center ever, more than Akeem or Shaq or Ewing or Robinson or whoever you want to pick.
Yeah. So just doing that is telling about how great his offense was. Just because you're not scoring doesn't mean that you are not.
Yeah, well, fanboys don't understand that. They don't recognize that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've actually heard people argue that Stockton was not a great offensive player.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you only get assists on offense. And there was a couple years there where he was averaging 31 minutes a game and 14 assists a game, only playing 31 minutes. And you want to say he wasn't a great offensive player. You don't get assists on the defensive end.
Exactly. And it's people will just lean on guys like you're mentioning Stockton too, but Russell, and we've been alluding to it, but just to say that he's only a great defensive player, and it's just ridiculous, especially when you have these stats to back it up, and people just see scoring and think that's all offense. We're talking about AAU yesterday, not the sidebar, but I think that's part of it too. Is that these people just got to be front. You got to see people front and center for them to be great at something, which it just doesn't make sense if you think about it for half a second. I guess a lot of people don't. Now, Bill Russell is my grandfather, so I have a little bit of a bias towards him as one of the greatest centers of all time, and for a lot of the reasons that you talked about. And pretty much, yeah, the biggest reason is because he was the leader of the team, and he was a center in the conversation that we're having, and he's won all the time. Not to reiterate what you're saying, but I think that's pretty much, and MVPs and some of those rebounding titles and just some of these records that he has for his finals appearances in respect to the stats and just the things that he was able to do. So, he's got to be up there. And one guy that I think often falls off of the greatest center of all time list, which I think he should be on, is Tim Duncan. And that's just typically because he's looked at as a power forward for the beginning part of his career, for when he was playing with David Robinson, where you could say that he was playing that. But otherwise, I think that Tim Duncan is often overlooked because of that. So I just wanted to put his name in there too. And I think he was very similar in a lot of ways to Bill Russell, or at least his approach to the game. He was, I would say, probably a better offensive player holistically than Bill Russell, but at the same time, especially at the later end of his career, where he wasn't scoring as much, although he could, he was trying to help the team to win. A lot of people may say that he wasn't as great of an offensive player because he wasn't scoring all the time, although he was making the right passes, making the right plays, and enabling his team to win. What do you think about Tim Duncan?
Oh, yeah. He's obviously an all-time great, but he always wanted to be listed as a power forward, and that's what they tend to call him. So I classify him as a power forward.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't mention him. But now I'm a huge Timmy fan. In fact, a friend of mine actually played basketball with him at Wake Forest.
how does he match up against these guys, the rest of the centers? Where would you? I know that
If you count him as a center, his skills, his and how he can play, then I mean, I don't like to individually rank. Like, if you want me to pick one, I pick Russell as the one I would want. But as far as saying, well, this guy's number 3, and I think this guy's number 7, that's kind of ridiculous to me. But I mean, he's obviously up there. He can defend. You know, really, I would have loved to have seen Duncan with those arms and how he played position defense. I wish we could have seen him go against Kareem.
Yeah.
I think he might have had a little bit of trouble with Hakeem because of the footwork.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that Timmy's footwork is not exceptional. He does not have quick feet. But I was just looking something up when we were talking about, how Russell's all defense. I just looked it up, and when his team won back-to-back NCAA championships, he was the leading scorer on the team when they won 56 straight. And then when he played in the 1956 Olympics, he was the leading scorer also on the Olympic team. And then he goes to a team that's the number 1 offensive team in the league, so he plays defense. And I know of at least one playoff run to a championship where he led the team in scoring in the playoffs. At least once. And at least once he led the team in assists through the playoffs on a championship run. So to sit there and arbitrarily say, oh, well, he had no offense is just so ridiculously stupid to say that. But now to catch back up with Timmy, I would have loved to I think he would have had a lot of fun going against guys like Moses, Ewing. God, him and Ewing, that would have been a great matchup, wouldn't it? They really didn't get to play each other because Ewing was constantly injured at the end there. So you never got to see prime Ewing go against prime Duncan.
Yeah.
But that would have been a really cool one.
Yeah. To talk about Bill, to go back to Bill Walton that you were talking about, what do you think was his greatest attribute? Because I didn't mean to steer you into the ranking players. That wasn't what I was trying to say. More like tiering them, But either way, outside of that, what is the greatest quality of Bill Walton?
Team first, always. Just like Russell. Does not care at all about individual stats or awards. Does not care. Did we win? And moreover, the image, I heard him say once in an interview, the image he always looked for when they would win a game was he'd look at all of his teammates in the eyes to see the glint in their eye, the joy of winning. It wasn't that he won that motivated him. It was watching his teammates celebrate the win motivated him. And to me, that's all you have to say about someone. And I want that guy on my team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The aircraft carrier's here, and he says, I blame the show Player's Choice for misleading the fans and youngsters about basketball. Do you know that show, Rex?
I have no idea. What's that?
So it's just a YouTube show. They've had some, and excuse me. This is how interested I am in this question or statement, but the Player's Choice is just a basketball show they've had some relatively bigger YouTube guys on there. I think they still have some of them that come on there. I think they've had White Chocolate on there before, um, Jason Williams, and
Wait
other,
a second, who are the
yep.
hosts?
It's a bunch of black guys. One guy's an older guy. I forget what they call him, but
I think I have seen clips of it.
yeah,
That
they're
show. Yeah.
yeah. It's typically a bunch of black guys, and then on occasion we'll have a white guy in there.
Well,
But
the
yeah,
worst people you can listen to about if you want to learn about basketball is guys that were outrageously great at it because they have no perception. It
yeah,
comes so easy to them. I mean, like remember our little to do with Gil,
yeah,
where he didn't know the actual size of an NBA basketball. The dude was an all-star in the NBA. He's one of the greatest players ever. He didn't know the exact circumference of the ball that he played, that he made his millions with. It's because he's just too
yeah,
good. It's something that doesn't concern him. It doesn't come to mind because it didn't matter. He was going to palm it anyway. Now,
yeah,
to us smaller guys, the difference between a 29.5-inch ball and a 30-inch ball means being able to palm it and play very well and not being able to palm it, and you're out there playing like a 12-year-old.
yeah. These guys were I think a few of them have played overseas ball or / college ball, so they're all. I don't want to say all of them. I know a couple of them have. I haven't even paid attention to that show at all. Not, I never really paid attention to it, but I knew some of the people's names on it. I forget. I forget now. I know some of the guys that were on it because the Ticket TV guy was on it that came on the show before. Um, and then I think Gilbert Arenas had collaborated with them. And then I was talking about Jason Williams as well, something like that. But anyway, the but yeah, I never really watched the show. I didn't find it interesting. They were just yelling at each other the whole time. So I really,
Well, you get so many
yeah,
when you talk about the guys that were actually there. They have their personal interests. Remember when we're talking about players and trying to critique them from the outside looking in, they're talking about their friends,
yeah,
their former teammates, their opponents, guys they went head to head with in college or even high school at basketball camps, roomed with from time to time on various all-star teams. So you're not going to get unbiased answers majority of the time, if even a minute amount of time, you'll get an unbiased answer because these people are talking about their friends. It's like if you were talking about one of your friends, you're going to try and make things sound a bit positive because you got to go see that person the next day. That person means something to you personally. So you're not going to get honest critique when you're talking about 90s basketball and the guys on the panel are all 90s players. You're not going to get anything honest. That's just human nature.
yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, that's a fair statement. And I mean, these guys, I don't think were ever really big. I think the one guy was cousins with Shaquille O'Neal, but I don't think they ever were on this show. I don't think any of them were NBA players. I might be mistaken. Outside of the guys that had Jason Williams going over there, but AR7PR219, very interesting username. Says, question for Rex. How did James Naismith, the inventor of basketball, end up with a losing coaching record at Kansas? And what factors contributed to his struggles despite creating the sport?
Because creating a sport is different from coaching it. Just like coaching, it's different from playing it. Playing it is different from being a GM. They're all different roles. He came up with the rudimentary rules of a game. He didn't invent a sport. He invented a game. to keep baseball players and football players from killing each other in PE class during the winter in Massachusetts when everyone was getting cabin fever. He had to come up with a game. He didn't come up with a sport. The game quickly evolved into a competitive sport that started stretching across the country. The difference is when you go from the Northeast, and you can tell this, what I'm about to say is true, when you look at the college champions and the professional league champions in the first 50 years of basketball history, they're all from the Northeast. That was the hotbed of basketball. That is where in 1904 to 1910 to 20, after World War I, you've got guys that learned how to play basketball in their PE classes. And then some of them really enjoyed it, and they'd start playing it in alleyways, driveways, backyards, that type of thing on their free time. You had a history of it. He goes across to Kansas. One of the reasons he took that job was because the game was brand new there. So when he started coaching at Kansas and built their basketball program and the entire conference, and all of those players were new. 3-5 years earlier, none of them had even heard of basketball. So how can you evaluate talent as a coach when all of the guys trying out for the team have never played before? So it's literally a crapshoot. You'll get someone who is a great basketball mind will have a losing record. There are guys in the NBA coaches that, Gene Shue, that had a losing record, but was an absolutely any coach, any player from the 50s, 60s, 70s into the 80s will tell you Gene Shue was a basketball mastermind. He's one of the greatest teachers to ever coach at any level. But in the NBA, he coached for like many, many, many years. Like he had at one point the most games coached ever. And I think he might still be the losingest coach ever, lost the most NBA games. If it's not him, it might actually be Lenny Wilkens. You going to try and tell me Lenny Wilkens doesn't know how to coach because he's lost the most NBA games? He's a first ballot Hall of Famer and a basketball genius. A coach can only coach the players he has on his team. If you're going out and bringing a sport to a new area and you're building something from scratch, you can't evaluate talent that has never played before. You get what you get, and you try and mold something and build something. And what he built is now arguably one of the greatest college programs in the history of the sport. And it started with him. And then the golden lineage that has gone all the way down to Pop and Steve Kerr. They're all direct descendants from Naismith.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. It's something that I think that a lot of people, and I didn't consider this immediately with that question, but I also really never thought about that question. But yeah, I think a lot of the times the simple answer is the right answer. There's people didn't play basketball there, so. But yeah, no, that's. I want to read some of these comments. So Aircraft Carrier says Mars has heavy influence on younger fans, and they take his word as gospel. That's the younger, chunky guy. I don't know. Like, these guys just talk really loose with the lips. Chilltown Hoops is the older guy. That's his name. Or his handle. Michael Jordan, great player, terrible executive. Magic, great player, terrible coach. What do you think about?
They're just too. The game comes to them so easily that they just can't understand how someone can not see what they see, and that's all of us in every. I mean, for a long time through my, through my 40s, I was a professional truck driver. I
Yeah.
had a little trucking company, nothing big, just little thing. And, I would see people driving, and still to this day, and I'm sure all of you have too. Now, I've got 2 million safe miles. Never a ticket, never an accident for 2 million miles, 41 years of driving. I see people make mistakes, do stuff that I'm like, what are you doing? What are you even thinking? How do you come upon the decision to do that? Because I just can't comprehend it, because my driving skills are up here. Theirs are down here. When Magic, whose playing skills are up here, tries to coach players who can't see what he sees, and they're over here on an NBA level, he just can't get it. And you see guys that could, guys like Bird, who be fantastic in every role. Jerry West, fantastic in every role. Because of the type of players they were. They were thinking players.
Yeah.
They were thinking players. So they can sit there and they can understand. They can explain to their players the process of getting to the answer. Whereas a lot of these great players, something as simple as shooting free throws. Well, you stand there, you square up, you hold the ball steady, you focus on the hole, and you drop it in. And it's just that easy for so many of them.
Yeah.
And then you get somebody up there that just bricks and bricks away, and they keep trying to teach them, and they just don't get it, and they don't understand. Why can't you just do this? You can shoot this. You can do this. Why can't you do this? Some guys can just explain it.
Trivia question. Peter Harpton. For the people that just have come on here, if you can like and subscribe to the channel, it'd be much appreciated. This is a reboot channel. Or if you've never come by, please do so. But here's a trivia question. Who's the only individual to make an All-NBA team in the 1960s to never be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Oh. I have a vague idea that I actually knew this at one point. In the 1960s. I'm guessing it's a shooting guard swingman.
What about Maurice Stokes?
50s.
Is he in the Hall of Fame? Okay,
50s.
it wasn't. Okay, it was 50s.
And I believe he is actually in the Hall of Fame. I think that was something they did for him when he died, after he died. I think in some capacity he actually is in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Because remember, people, it's not the NBA MVP Hall of Fame. It's anyone who has contributed to basketball in an impactful way at any level, in any capacity around the world. And so many fans don't understand that.
Yeah.
There are literally guys in the NBA that are in the Hall of Fame, and we discussed this yesterday. There's a group of players in the Hall of Fame that, to our knowledge, never played in an actual sanctioned basketball game. But they're in the Hall of Fame, and those were Dr. James Naismith's first class that played the first ever game back in December of 1891. They're all in the Hall of Fame.
He played point guard / shooting guard for this trivia question.
And I assume he means first team All NBA. I'm assuming. I don't know. Everyone that I'm running through my head are in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I don't know. I'll throw someone out there. Lou Hudson. I think Lou Hudson is in the Hall of Fame. But
I don't know.
I don't know, that's a
Yeah,
good guess. Lou Hudson.
yeah. If you can't answer, Peter Harpton, you stumped me. Rex says Lou Hudson if you give us the answer. But great trivia question. Thank you. Um, now what's your opinion, Rex, on Hakeem Olajuwon? And you had mentioned that some people think he was potentially greater than what you see in him. Not to say that he's not, not that you said that he wasn't great, but a lot of people will put him at the highest of tiers. What made Hakeem Olajuwon special, and what do you think people overrate about him?
What people overrate about him is like that he was somehow unstoppable. Oh, they won back to back. He lost in '86 in the finals, and playing for I believe 19 years. Those are the only 3 times he got to the finals. Obviously, he wasn't unstoppable. I believe did he have 1 or 2 MVPs?
I think it's yeah.
For the team he played the majority of his career for and what he's known for with the Houston Rockets, he's not even the most established Rockets center of all time. Gene Shue, gah! I should have known that. I was thinking he was 50s. FYI, the first player to do a spin move in the NBA and then not get called as a travel was Gene Shue.
Nice.
He had a reverse spin move where he'd get the defender running left, he'd plant and spin, switch to his right hand off the dribble, and go back the other direction. He was the first one that was able to do it and convince the officials that it was not a travel. So technically, he invented the spin move in the NBA.
Nice. Awesome.
But for Hakeem, it's the same thing with Hakeem. For me, it's similar to Shaq. So many young kids sit here and say Shaq's the most dominant player ever. No, he wasn't. He wasn't even close to being the most dominant player ever. He's not even really, if you look at the numbers, he's not even in the top 30 most dominant. It's if you look at him just like you look at I always see people wanting to put what's his name in Detroit. He actually played for the Bullets before he went to Detroit. Ben Wallace.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer, and people want to say, well, he was really like Bill Russell. Well, no, he wasn't. Bill Russell did it every year for his entire life, from his first year of playing in high school to when he retired. He played a certain way and dominated at it, playing that way.
Yeah.
All of Ben Wallace's accolades come in a 4-year period. 4 years.
Yeah.
When everyone talks about Shaq's dominance, it's basically in a 3-year period. I mean, he played 19 years. He never won a block title, never had a rebound title. I think he won, what is it, 1 MVP and 2 scoring titles? Does that sound dominant to you?
Yeah.
And I hear him guys will say the same thing about Hakeem, and it's like, no. And a lot of times Hakeem was his own, he caused, because of his personal beliefs. If you know anything about Ramadan,
Yeah.
during Ramadan, you can't eat during the day. You fast during the day.
Yeah.
Well, Ramadan happens right during the NBA playoffs. So he struggled for a lot of his career. And I believe it was when he stopped following that ritual that they ended up winning. because he was so tired. You can't play at that level without taking in calories, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it wasn't possible. But when I talk about the greatest, I talk about guys that do it their whole career. You know, they do it like they are who they are. You know, obviously you have guys that come up that have periods of a couple years where they're just on fire. You know, guys, you know, Adrian Dantley, Bernard King, you know, guys like that for a period of a stretch of years. Like, I remember at the time when they traded Dantley to Detroit from Utah and basically built the team around Malone. I knew I had a lot because Dantley's from DC, as I'm from that area as well. I actually played with Dantley once. And a lot of hometown folk were not happy about that. About trading away their guy, a guy that over a 4-year period was averaging over 30 points a game and had, I believe, 3 scoring titles. And they trade him away to build the team around this young guy. Well, that young guy ended up the second all-time leading scorer, 2-time MVP, and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, the guys that run the Utah Jazz knew what they were talking about. They knew what they were doing. But,
Yeah.
It's one of those things. There's different levels, even to the greatness. Adrian Dantley is, king of the mid-range. Best mid-range shooter ever, period. You can argue whoever you like. That's fine. The numbers don't match up. Dantley was the greatest mid-range shooter ever. And it's just, but that's not, his career just isn't, because the situation and circumstance just wasn't what Karl Malone's was. And you can say teammates, you can say coaching, culture, atmosphere, size, position. You can argue whatever point you want. The situation and circumstance of it is, even though he's an all-time great, one of my all-time favorite players, he was not Karl Malone. And that's what a lot of people get caught up, because they love Hakeem Olajuwon. They overemphasize the greatness of Hakeem Olajuwon, who was completely and totally great. Obviously, but we're talking about the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. The top 0.0000001%. So if you're going to nitpick, I'd rather not nitpick, but nobody watches that. People want to hear start the arguments over this, that, and third. So,
Aircraft Carrier asks, who was the first player born in 1990 drafted in the NBA? I'm going to guess Anthony Davis, because you seem to be an Anthony Davis fan. But I guess they'd have to be the first overall pick in 2008 or 2009 draft. It's probably the right answer. Whoever
not
that
the
was.
first pick, just the youngest pick.
Yeah, I guess so. You'd have to be born January 1st, 1990. Would be, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Do you have a guess? Is it AD, Aircraft Carrier?
I don't know.
Casual Hoops Head says Dantley would consistently shoot around mid 50% field goal on almost exclusively mid-range shots.
Because he couldn't jump, he couldn't dunk. One leg was longer than the other.
Yeah. And Rex don't like Shaq.
No. Well, no, I have nothing against Shaq. Nothing at all. It's Shaq fans. Because Shaq had high school level talent. If Shaq was 6'7", he would have been DeJuan Blair. He never developed any shot whatsoever. Like I said, biggest, baddest dude in town. Never led the league in rebounding once. Never led the league in blocks once. Not even once. 19-year career. Not even once. Don't tell me he's that dominant. Now, if you just want to say Shaq was an all-time great, he's a fantastic guy. He was the main guy on those teams. He got those 4 championships. Absolutely, 100%. Agree with you totally. It's when people want to sit here and say Shaq was most dominant ever. He was this. He was that. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Could have been. Even he'll tell you. His work ethic destroyed it. Lack of work ethic.
What do you think about Michael Jordan fans? Since you said Shaq fans are pretty
They're
bad.
worse than Shaq fans.
Michael Jordan fans are the best, but that's besides the point.
Michael Jordan fans are absolutely ridiculous. Downfall of basketball is Michael Jordan fans. Michael Jordan's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I love Michael Jordan. I don't like Michael Jordan fans.
How bad are Shaq fans, though? Are
Oh,
they
they're
even close to?
I just on a video this morning I commented they had the they had his there's a short that has his dunk on Dudley, and it's and the video is the most disrespectful play in NBA history, and I called it as it was. It was nothing but a charge. I don't know why people worship that play and pull it up as like being his greatest play. It was just an uncalled charge is all it was. There was no talent involved, no skill. He just took the ball, power dribbled, knocked the dude down, dunked, hung on the rim, and then landed on top of the guy and shoved him into the stands. There's absolutely no greatness in that at all. And a much smaller guy. So essentially all he was doing was bullying. But yet it's like his signature play from his career. That's what I have a problem with is people looking at that and going, oh, that's so fantastic. Oh, he's the man. No, it wasn't. It was a foul. It was an uncalled foul is all it was. There were 7 different rules broken on that play, and none of them were called. In fact, I believe the technical was called on Dudley.
Oh yeah, because he threw the ball at him.
Yeah, because he threw the ball at him. That's what the ref blew. The guy that got knocked flat and shoved off the court picked up and threw the ball. So that's the call that the ref made. So don't talk to me about Shaq. If you just want to talk about what Shaq was, okay. But stop making the things like he was some sort of like super Wilt Chamberlain. He wasn't. He couldn't hold Wilt's jock.
Aircraft carrier answered his trivia question as True Holiday. This is turning into a trivia show at this point. Who are the 5 players that scored at least 10,000 points for a team located in the city in which they were born? I got no idea. I'm gonna
Dolph Shays.
Ed McCauley.
I'm saying Dolph Shays. Oh no, Bernard King didn't get 10,000 as a Knick, did he? I don't think so. I don't think so.
LeBron James.
LeBron James. No, there's no team in Akron.
Oh, that's fair.
Just think LeBron James and Steph Curry were born in the same hospital.
Yeah. Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, he had to get 10,000 in Philly, right?
Yeah. Where's Bob Pettit from?
He's from Baton Rouge, I believe. He's from Louisiana, I know. He's one of the 6'9" guys from Louisiana.
Yeah.
Pettit, Russell, Anthony Davis, Elvin Hayes, Karl Malone.
Yeah.
Gosh, in the city they were born in.
What about Willis Reed?
Yeah, he's another 6'9" guy from Louisiana. That's right. Uh, what? Trying to. Can't I can think of like prominent guys that I know what city they're from, but I don't know if they scored 10,000 points with those particular teams.
Yeah.
That's the only. Like when you think about, obviously Elgin Baylor ain't in there. He's from Washington D.C. Never played for the Bullets.
Dirk Nowitzki. No. Let's name all foreign players.
Got
Yeah,
no
I think Wilt's
idea.
got to be one. Yeah.
No. Stats aren't my thing. I don't pay attention to individual stats, so I really have no idea. I'm just throwing out guesses. I'm guessing there has to be someone from St. Louis in there. Back with the
Peter
Hawks,
Harp.
they used to have quite a few guys from St. Louis on the team. Somebody must have stayed with the team long enough. I was going to say Carmelo Anthony. That's right. Gail Goodrich is from L.A. Paul Air. Oh, God, actually, that's right. Paul Arizin would have been over Wilt. I still don't get how Wilt's not in there, though.
Yeah.
Or I guess
No,
they probably moved to San Francisco before he hit the 10,000 number. No, that can't be. Because that was 64 they moved. 10,000 points in 4 years. He ended up with 30. He was only scoring. I think Wilt had to be close if he's not on that list. He had to be very close.
yeah.
I was thinking Derrick Rose, yeah.
LeBron fans are the worst fans. I can say they're not the
LeBron
best.
fans haven't been around long enough, but they may take the title.
I don't think they're the best, for sure. They're not the best.
I'd like to know how many points Wilt had in Philly.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about stuff like that, you know, it's really there's so much to that you don't think of. Like to us, it's just numbers. But to these guys that did that, that's playing in front of their boys, you know, their friends. You know, when you're a hometown player, when you grow up in Chicago and then you end up on the Bulls, every home game, you're walking out on the court and you're looking in the stands and you're seeing old teachers, old girlfriends, old, you know, buddies you grew up with, you know, guys that you played with in high school and AAU and whatever, and the guy down at the, you know, the A&P, you're seeing people you know. So where that adds a certain pressure, it also creates a certain comfort zone, you know? You know, something a lot of fans don't think of.
Absolutely.
Personally, I think the NBA would have been totally different if I think the biggest mistake the NBA ever made as far as marketing their league was allowing Kareem to go to an expansion team in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That was the absolute most ridiculous decision. And that I think that was, and no offense to Milwaukee, but you're just not you're not getting the publicity out of it that you could have gotten.
Yeah.
You know? But the issue was, okay, well, you couldn't put him to his hometown team because that was the Knicks and that was Willis Reed, and all that. You couldn't get him to LA because Wilt was still there. So, you got to you want to put him in a place that really you can show him off. And in 1969, 1970, Milwaukee just really isn't that place.
Yeah. Who do you think is the better player overall, Maurice Lucas or Draymond Green, and Chris Bosh or Kevin McHale?
Kevin McHale. It's not even close. Kevin McHale is far above the others, and the others are all great. But Kevin McHale, come on. If you want to sit there and say Hakeem had the best low post moves ever, then Kevin McHale is a close number 2. There are many, many players that'll tell you Kevin McHale had better low post moves than Hakeem. He just wasn't physically capable as Hakeem.
I'm not sure if this is 2 separate questions in one, because it says Maurice Lucas or Draymond Green and Chris Bosh or Kevin McHale. So who's a better player overall, Maurice Lucas or Draymond Green?
I would call that a push myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I'm saying that is because it appears Draymond is still going on. So
yeah, I say Draymond, but that's recency bias. I don't know much about Maurice Lucas.
No, Sonics will never. Seattle will never get a team again. Not with the present state of that state. They're not getting a team.
Yeah. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like the videos that you're watching, so we can get more eyes on this fantastic content. Here, Rex, the encyclopedia of basketball history.
Well,
And then my bad jokes on this channel.
I have no sympathy for Sonics. They beat my Bullets in '79.
Yeah. That's got to suck, though, to lose a basketball team as somebody from Seattle, especially it being relevantly successful over its history, winning the championship. And then in the 90s, going to the finals again.
Yeah. Well, and a little coincidence thing there. Why did Seattle get a team in the first place?
I don't know why.
Elgin Baylor, who's from Washington, D.C. Elgin Baylor went all the way across the country. I'm not a Wizards fan. Absolutely not. Ever. No. When they change their name, just like the Redskins, when they change their name, they're dead to me. I'm not a fan. When he went all the way across the country for college. First, I believe he went to Wyoming or Idaho or something like that, and then ended up at University of Seattle and created such a stir and took them to the NCAA championship game and just turned it into a basketball town. The Lakers would do neutral site games in Seattle. When he was there with the Lakers in the early years. And then Seattle got an expansion team because of the guy from Washington, D.C. Then when Seattle got their only championship, they got it beating the team from D.C. And in Seattle's last year as a team, their main player, their star rookie who was taken over the league was Kevin Durant, who is from Washington, D.C. Just a little coincidence there.
Yeah. So why did the name change kill the teams for you?
Because it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
Going from Bullets
fair.
to Wizards, please. Wizards? Really? That's the best you could come up with? Wizards? Sounds like an alternative to the Globetrotters. Isn't that the team the Globetrotters always beat? Wizards?
Wasn't it the Generals or something
it was
like that?
Yeah, it was a general.
Yeah.
But it's same with the Redskins, changing the name and all that. It's like it's just they're just sports teams.
Yeah.
Stop caving to make believe arguments.
Well, did they change the name of the Bullets because of gun violence?
Yes,
Or-
because Washington, D.C. for a long time. Now it's Chicago. At one time
Yeah.
it was Detroit. Well, at one time for about 20 years it was Washington, D.C. was the gun capital of the United States.
Yeah.
And so the Bullets, we can't have that. It's like, all right, well, it's been the murder capital of the U.S. for like 20 years. And you've had the name all through that. So now you're going to change it. Like, what's that going to do? People going to stop shooting each other in D.C.? Well, just last week proves that ain't happening. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Yes, the Redskins did change their name to the Washington football team, which I thought was fantastic. I was all about that. That is cool. The Washington football team. I think every team should just be called that. A lot of times they'll call the Giants the New York football team, as kind of like a ribbing to the Jets,
Yeah.
But it's Washington football team, and then going back to the old colors where the burgundy had more of a brownish hue to it, I thought was so cool. I'm like, if I'm going to get the helmet tattooed on my body if they come out in leather helmets. I swear to God,
Aren't they the Generals now too?
No, they're the Commanders.
That's right. Oh, that's right.
The last
Yeah.
place Commanders. Yeah,
Yeah.
all that stuff is
We're
so
co- we're-
stupid. Caving to fake
we're-
pressure. It's not even real pressure. There's literally, when they change the name away from the Redskins, for one, the Redskin has absolutely nothing to do. Where they got the name has nothing to do with Native Americans. Second, I looked it up, and on the day they changed their name from the Redskins because it was such a controversial and derogatory name. There were literally 25 high schools on Indian reservations in America with the nickname Redskins for their sports teams.
Yeah.
If you drive south of Dallas on 30, I forget the name of the suburb of Dallas on the south side, you'll see the water tower right next to the interstate with big Redskin emblem on it because the local high school there, town starts with an M, is the Redskins. But no, Washington has to change their name of the team. It's just,
I knew one Native American friend of mine that was up in arms about it randomly when it just all of a sudden became a thing. I'm sure he didn't really care until somebody said something about it. I mean, how do you go through your? I don't know. I don't have that experience. So I don't want to speak on it, but I just can't imagine that every time that he or other people heard the Washington Redskins name, that they took major offense to it, especially after the 1,000th time that they've heard it, and it not being
where the name came from.
Yeah.
The team originated in Boston.
Oh, okay.
All right. And they did have a Native American specific nickname, Boston Braves.
Okay.
Then they went and said, well, Redskins. Well, if you actually do the research and figure out where the name Redskin comes from, it has nothing to do with a bias towards their skin color, because believe it or not, only white people walk around with red skin in the summertime.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That should be my nickname.
Yeah. What it is they painted their faces with red war paint.
Yeah.
Redskins. And it specifically became the name of the team in Boston. Guess why? Because that is how the colonists in the Boston Tea Party, how they dressed up to go throw the tea into Boston Harbor. They dressed up as Native Americans, and to hide their identity, they put on the red face paint. That's why the team from Boston named their team the Redskins, because it was a sign of the colonist revolt. It actually was not directly relevant to Native Americans. That's not where it came from. It was representing the revolutionary image of the Boston Tea Party, who painted their faces red to hide their identities. That's where it came from. So
If people only knew their history and weren't racist, we still would have the Washington Redskins.
I know people that are devout racists growing up in Northern Virginia, and they still love the Redskins. It has nothing to do with reality. It's a name of a sports team.
Yeah.
It makes no difference whatsoever. I'm Irish, mostly Irish. You know, I'm not a big Boston fan.
Yeah. The leprechaun jokes, they make you sensitive.
What aircraft carrier says right there. Kind of like the Washington football team name, so did I. The Commanders just sounds cheesy. Same with the Wizards. That's what I mean. Come up with these cheesy names. I actually had a friend of mine when they were having they had a raffle type thing where you made your suggestion and you sent it in. And whatever they got the most of is what they made the team name. Wizards came back number 1. I assume it has something to do with Harry Potter. I don't know when that came out. I'm just guessing because I've never seen Harry Potter, so I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's just one of those things that, you know. I actually had a friend that submitted named the team the Washington Unselds.
Wow.
I mean, why not? Hey, you got the Cleveland Browns are named after Paul Brown. Named the Washington team after their greatest player, the Unselds, the Wesses.
Yeah. I think the Washington football team is kind of like Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince, the team formerly known as the Redskins.
Yeah. And the thing that I like is every year when I'll watch highlights or games or whatever, the commentators still slip every year.
Yeah.
You know, the hometown, guys still sit there and there'll be like a touchdown will come out of nowhere, and surprise, and they get all excited and they'll yell, "Touchdown Redskins, Commanders!" It still happens. They're the Redskins and everyone knows it. Changing the name was just stupid.
Yeah.
Should have just named them, the Washington, Roger Murdochs. Everyone knows it's Kareem.
Yeah. Anyway, Rex, I think it's about time to shut this thing down. You have any last words for the people?
I didn't realize it was already 1:30 almost. My gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know. What does anybody who's listening here, watching, whichever of the two, what would y'all like to hear next? on the next show. What questions do you have? And the one thing, and I know it's hard. It's so hard. If you and I actually lived in the same place to where we could actually talk about the actual game of basketball, like how to play it, where we could have like demonstration videos and stuff, that would be fantastic.
It'd be fun.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But I'm not camera literate, and so I'm not doing it myself to actually get out there and show people proper way of doing this move, proper way of playing defense on this, or where you should be if this teammate does that. How do you guard that? That's what I actually know. You know, that's what I actually know, but I'm not getting out by myself to do that stuff.
Yeah. Is this the show
would never
topic?
Get a sports, I assume, team. How and why? Just because of the travel, it wouldn't be fair.
And they do have sports teams here, just not the big four sports teams.
Yeah. I mean, see an NHL team in Hawaii.
Yeah, they got some Polynesian stuff here, so they got rugby teams, and let alone they do have American football here. They got their that's pretty big over here for.
Is the Pro Bowl still over there every year?
I think so. I know it's been a typical thing, but yeah, American football is a big deal here because a lot of people are built wide or stocky from Hawaii. So there's a lot of great football players that come from here, or typically, and it's something that. What's
the biggest basketball moment to happen in Hawaii?
I have no idea.
Chaminade. What was that? 1982, when Chaminade beat #1 Virginia with Ralph Sampson.
I don't even know what Chaminade is. Is that University?
College. It's a college there.
I'm gonna look that up because I was only familiar with the University of Hawaii.
They used to have a tournament, a preseason tournament, and that was their brilliance. You know, I mean, Chaminade wasn't a basketball powerhouse by any means at all, but that's how they get the best teams to come. They have a early season, preseason basketball tournament in Hawaii. Right as the rest of the country is getting cold, hey, we're going to have DePaul, Virginia, and whoever else come down to play in Hawaii for a week and do this tournament. And one year, Chaminade beat #1 Virginia with Ralph Sampson. That was when I realized Sampson was not going to be what he was being portrayed as being, because everything that people are claiming that Wemby is going to be now, they were claiming that about Ralph Sampson back at the time. They were saying he was going to be greater than Kareem and Wilt, and they were talking about all, he was going to be so dominant, and this is watch now because this guy is going to be the greatest to ever play. He's going to hold every record. And then when I saw they got beat by Chaminade, first I saw him get tuned up by Arvydas Sabonis.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, either Arvydas Sabonis is the best center in the world or Sampson's not going to be as great as everyone's saying. And then when they lost to Chaminade, I was like, okay, the greatest ever is not going to lose to Chaminade.
Yeah.
That's not something that happens to the great ones. They don't allow that to happen.
Yeah, the Chaminade. Yeah, I just looked it up. It's still the thing. Yeah, I always just hear about the, just the University of Hawaii here. But anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not really, yeah.
No, Wemby's going to be great. asking if I'm sold on Wemby. Yeah, Wemby's going to be great. The only thing I don't like is as I'm sure you've seen with the amount of basketball that you've watched, their aircraft carrier, you know that there are guys in the league that will hurt him. And the thing is, at his size, can he take that? Or will he be like a Ralph Sampson, who tried playing out on the perimeter and ended up getting hurt? Because those little guys, us little guys, love to hit those knees.
Yeah, he's actually injured right now.
Get out of here. Go back underneath where you belong. That's the attitude of the players. But I think Wemby would be better off. I think it's all so much of him playing on the perimeter is just for show. I mean, the team when he was a rookie, the team didn't start winning until they moved him to center. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you got that kind of reach, you have that kind of fluidity, and you have that type of mobility, you don't move away from the basket, you move closer. You attack the basket because everything is a layup. Everything is dropping the ball down into, you don't even have to shoot it. You're dropping it. You're dropping every shot into the basket. You're just dropping a ball of paper into the trash can every play. He should not be on the perimeter. I don't care if he can shoot threes. Fantastic. You know what? There's a lot of guys in the back. Hell, there's video of Will Chamberlain hitting 4 or 5 hook shots from off the court. Those are all 3-pointers if he does them in games. Every player can shoot. Have you ever seen the video of Joel Embiid shooting, where he hit some crazy number of threes in a row? They all can shoot. You're not proving anything. Prove you can win. Get to where you have the most impact. Get down low. Create that gravity where they can't single team you. They have to double team you. Now either you get a layup or your teammates get the wide open threes, because they're not capable of getting the layup off the double team, but you are. So get where you are the most dominant and let your teammates play off of that. That's how you win.
Yeah.
But you got to advertise the league. You have to show off the athleticism. That was David Stern's thing. Yeah, that's how you get the casual fans. Will Chamberlain was able to do all these amazing athletic feats when he was younger. But then when they started showing the games in color on Sunday afternoon, well, that was after his knee injury, and he just stood it down low. It wasn't interesting to watch for casual fans. But if casual fans could have seen 1961 Wilt, it would have been amazing for the NBA.
Absolutely.
They're
There's
worried
one thing
about
I want to
highs
correct you on, though.
clips rather than actual competition.
There's one thing I want to correct you on, though, because you said the 1 to 2, the people that are watching. You see the 5 up there. That's a mistake. There's hundreds of people watching this right now.
Oh, yeah, I know. I got 6 people right here just off camera all tuned in. Yeah.
Yeah.
My elves are over there making the toys.
Right, so you're a Georgetown Hoops fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the way back to Horace Broadnax, Ralph Dalton, Michael Graham. Then you got all the ones with, Ewing, Iverson, Reggie Williams, David Wingate. Point guard that era was a guy named Michael Jackson, who went to the same high school as Grant Hill in Reston, Virginia, which is also the same high school Mia Hamm went to.
Nice.
Long live John Thompson. That's right. Bill Russell's backup. And that is how they got Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing comes from Jamaica at 12 years old, starts playing basketball at 13, doesn't know the rules, but he's near 7 foot tall, He was, I think, 6'8", and was a goalie. Had great side-to-side movement and a 39-inch vertical leap, and just blocked everything. Nobody could score on him. Ringen Latin High School, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Romeo Robinson also went there, who ended up winning national championship with Michigan, with Glenn Robinson and them. Antoine Jobert. But he was being seen in the Boston area as the second coming of Bill Russell, because he played like Russell. It was all about winning. Personal stats didn't matter. Block everything, intimidation, and win. So when Georgetown, you got everyone's going after him. North Carolina, UCLA, all the usuals, Kansas, Indiana, everyone's going after Ewing. And then here comes the Georgetown coach walking in. And Ewing, all he knows is Bill, everyone's telling him, you're next Bill Russell, you're next Bill Russell, you're next Bill Russell. That's over and over and over again. That's how he's being classified. And then here comes Bill Russell's actual backup. John Thompson was Bill Russell's backup for 2 years, got 2 rings, realized he wasn't going to get any playing time being behind Russell. So he retired at 24, 25, and became a high school basketball coach at St. Anthony's in Washington, D.C. And then goes on to Georgetown. So you're being told you're the next this guy. You're a high school kid, and they're saying you're going to be as great as Russell. You play like Russell. You're great. And then here comes Russell's teammate walking in, going, "Hey, why don't you come play for me?" So he shocked everybody by, instead of going to a big powerhouse, going to Georgetown that had virtually no basketball history. They had went to the NIT finals during World War II. And they had Sleepy Floyd, who's from the same hometown as James Worthy. And then they started being able to get top players because they got Ewing. And they built up a powerhouse, went to 3 final games in 4 years. One time they didn't, they lost to Memphis State Ewing's sophomore year. They had Keith Lee, was their All-American forward. But yeah, Georgetown, that was my local team. I used to play on the courts around Georgetown. Rock Creek Park, the basketball courts up on the hill right there. Over in Temple Hills. I think it was just called Temple Hills Park. I don't remember. I think it was just called Temple Hills Park, but the park over there. A lot of great guys used to always go there. Guys that went to the University of Maryland used to play at the Chin Center down by Quantico. Wakefield, which is a gym right off of the Beltway in Northern Virginia. That's where, at the time, all the Duke guys went. They all went there. Rex, did you play with the brothers? Absolutely. Every day. In fact, it scared my mom once. I had played really well one weekend at my local court. And, really well. Best I'd ever played. And there was a group of guys that came up there together, 4 guys, all big too, like 6'4" to 6'8". And they just needed a point guard. So they picked me, and we just clicked, and we just ran the court until the lights cut off. And then I got sick. Missed the entire week of school. And then Saturday, this old Cutlass pulls up in front of my house, and these 4 big black guys get out and come walking up, knocking on my door. My mom answers like, "Yes." And they're like, literally, "Can Joe come out and play?" I'm like 15. They're grown men. And they're like, we were told this is where Joe lives. We're going up to the court. Can Joe come play? And my mom was like, "Do you know these people?" They're like, yeah, I played basketball with him last weekend. And my mom wouldn't let me play. She's like, he missed the entire week of school. He's not playing basketball. So I had to wait till she went out shopping to sneak out and go play.
Awesome.
Yep.
But, hey, Rex, I got to get going, but I'll put a post on seeing what topics for next week people want to hear.
Yeah, I'm temporarily retired until 2026. So I got nothing else to do. But even if you come up with something, I normally don't research anything.
Yeah.
I try and just fly blind. But if somebody gives us a really deep topic, something really that takes a deep dive that is really interesting, that needs to be explained, get it to us and I'll actually do a few hours of research, see what I can find out and give you my opinion. If I don't already have one on it. You gotta dig pretty deep to get me. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining. Have a fantastic day. Learn the game. Don't have an F for effort. And see you next time.